Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Elemental Evan Show. Today, I am joined with a very special guest. Today, it is Dr. Peter Martone, or others might know him as Dr. Sleepright. He is a chiropractor. He's been a chiropractor for over 23 years now. He's now into the sleep field, and he knows so much about posture and how it relates to our sleep. So I'm really excited to get into this episode today. Welcome on to the show, Dr. Martone, or Dr. Sleepright.
Yeah, well, that's thank you, Evan. Thank you so much for having me. I love people that are really trying to promote a message to this world because man, we need it more than ever. So I commend you for it.
Thank you. No, and also thank you for doing this incredible work. You and I both know how important sleep is, but it's really awesome to be able to share the importance of it in a platform like this. So thank you for coming on.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So to just kind of help everyone get a better idea of who you are and where you're coming from, I like to do a couple quick rapid fire questions. So first off, just where are you from?
Yeah, so I am about 20 minutes north of Boston, so in Massachusetts, up in New England, and I've been there for most of my life.
Awesome. And is that where you're based out of right now?
That's where I'm based out of right now. Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Very cool. Is it kind of chilly out there right now?
Yeah, there little snowflakes kind of dropped from the sky a little earlier today, so I guess you could say it's a little chilly.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, good to get all the seasons though. It's cool. We
Yeah.
sometimes lack that out here in California, but still very cool. What is a favorite book of yours?
Favorite book is I really like the book Atlas Shrugged, and
Mm,
I just really love and it's basically what's going on now in our culture, where culture is kind of breaking down, a little bit based on what's going on, going into recession, and at the end, Atlas Shrugged, they took themselves out of the culture and immersed themselves into a new place called Atlantis, and Atlantis, literally translated, means island of Atlas. Atlas is the top bone in the human body that holds up, your brain, which is your world. So I really just kind of resonated with all that and named one of my companies Atlantis Chiropractic Wellness Centers.
that's incredible. Honestly, I had no idea about that. You just made that so much deeper. That's awesome. Very cool. What's a favorite quote of yours?
Be the change you want to see in this world, because nobody's going to change it for you. And it's really you have to live. If there's something wrong in your life, or there's something wrong around you, really you're the only one that you have to blame. So you got to either change your perspective or start living the life that you want to portray and achieve in this world. So I like
Yeah,
that.
absolutely. I think action speaks so loud, and sometimes, I can give all the advice I possibly can to someone to help them improve their health or whatever it may be. But I found that literally just living what you're saying, is what speaks the loudest, and people see that and it rubs off on them. So definitely agree with that. Yeah.
Right.
But all right. Well, thank you for those quick rapid fire questions. Now let's go ahead and jump into sleep and everything based around sleep. So really, what got you into the chiropractic field, and then also kind of focusing on sleep and the importance of it?
Yeah, that's a great question, because chiropractic, I can't, myself, my father wasn't a chiropractor. I had gone to a chiropractor when I was younger after a car accident. I really didn't like it so much. I just didn't like the cracking that had been going on. But then later on, I was deciding to go to medical school and getting all my prerequisites done, and I had met a chiropractor, and he's like, "What are you thinking about doing?" I'm like, I'm going to medical school. He's like, "You ever thought about chiropractic?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, no, I've already done it. I really didn't like it so much." But I had always had a stomach issue after my accident, and he's like, "Well, you should try chiropractic, and maybe it'd be able to help you." I'm like, "No, I've done it. He's like, "Well," and he said something that really made sense. He's like, "Well, if if the nervous system controls everything in the human body, and then if the spine is out of alignment due to some injury, or due to the spine being out of alignment, that can cause interference in the nerve that's going to your stomach. So you might not have a stomach issue. You might have a neurology issue because the spine is out of alignment." And that made sense to me, adjusted me. Stomach problem went away, never had to take any medication again for it. So I went to chiropractic school because I really liked the idea that chiropractic isn't for neck and back pain. That's not how the profession was started. It's to remove nerve pressure and allow the body to function more efficiently. And that's really what got me into chiropractic. What got me into sleep is zigzag, quite a bit forward. Is even as a chiropractor, practicing at that point, 15 years, when I kind of started thinking about zigzagging into the sleep industry, I had always had back pain, and I was adjusting people, and I had still had back pain. I had shoulder problems. I had impingement syndrome in my shoulder, and it wasn't until I herniated my disc and I was in the emergency room in the hospital, and I'm like, oh man, how did it come to this? I'd been a chiropractor for 15 years. I had always had back pain, and now I'm sitting in the emergency room keeping people out of, and I have a herniated disc. I'm thinking I always have shoulder problems. What the heck is going on with me? So I reviewed, I'd always take x-rays, but I reviewed 3,000 x-rays at that point, at that time, and I came up with a pattern. And that pattern is that due to my sleeping position and being hunched over people, adjusting them all day, I didn't have a back problem. I had a neck issue because I was losing the curve in my neck. So what happens is and you'll see people when they're walking around, they all walk around like this with this forward head posture.
Right.
And then reactive to that is you get a psoas major muscle spasm through the stomach that causes that muscle to constrict, and that puts pressure on a disc, and then that's why my disc herniated. So from that point on, I'm like, wow, could it really be a neck issue that I had the whole time and not in a reactive lower back problem? So I started jamming towels up underneath my neck and try, because in chiropractic, they make these devices where you use them 10 minutes a day. And it just didn't make sense to me because they hurt. And how many people are going to do that on a regular basis? So I started restructuring my spine where I know that you can spend 8 hours a night in the bed. So I started making specific things, and then I developed a specific pillow to put underneath your neck to restore that curve. And now, I'm in the sleep industry, and it's been what a great industry, and doors that have really embraced us based on the message that we've come in with.
Wow, that's an incredible story. I kind of feel like I have a lot of questions here. So first off, we're definitely going to dive more into the neck nest, which I want to hear more about. But I really love how you explained that, something, even though you're feeling pain lower in your body, it originated from up in the neck, and it just goes to show the connection of the body and how everything is so intertwined. And it's just so wild to think like, we're so always focused on where the point of pain is, which is obvious, but it's really interesting to see that interconnectedness of the body and how, adjusting here can really play a role everywhere else throughout the body. So that's incredible. Also, as far as your explanation of, what a chiropractor does by releasing pain from those, or, pressure from those nerves, I've never thought of it like that. That is a really interesting way of, well, I mean, it's not even a way of thinking of it. It is what's happening. And that's really incredible. Cause yeah, I just think of it as like, popping that area and relieving some pressure for the time being, but that's really incredible. What was the stomach issue, if you don't mind me asking, that you were dealing with that was healed through that?
So it was overproduction of acid. So anytime you have an issue in an organ, let's say the organ is controlled by something that's called the autonomic nervous system. Autonomic meaning it's like on autopilot. And within the autonomic nervous system, you have two opposite nerves. You have the sympathetics and the parasympathetics. They're, complete opposite each other. So one turns an organ on and then one shuts an organ off. So let's say you're going to run from a tiger. You use your sympathetics to run from a tiger. So your sympathetic nervous system would shut down your digestive system, would shut down your reproductive system, would shut down your immune system, and it would turn on musculoskeletal, blood going to the musculoskeletal system, respiratory system, cardiovascular system. So if you're going to survive, you need your sympathetic nervous system. If you're going to thrive, you need your parasympathetic nervous system. So these two nervous systems, one turns something on, one shuts something off. So they're always in balance. And when there's an interference in the signal of that nervous system, it throws that body into imbalance. So it throws it out of balance. So what happens is that the organ becomes dysfunctional. So when you start to get adjusted and you start to remove that nerve pressure, things start to balance, and then organs start to heal and maintain function.
Yeah, it's incredible. I was just doing a bit of research on the vagus nerve and its connection to the parasympathetic nervous system, and just that kind of two-way communication between all the different organs in the brain. Is that it right there?
That's the vagus nerve right there. Yep.
That's incredible. Yeah. And so essentially it could be even that nerve that's being pinched somewhere. Yeah. And then just alleviating the pressure through, chiropractic practice or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like when there's the parasympathetic nervous system is 80% of the vagus nerve represents 80% of the entire parasympathetic nervous system. And the vagus nerve comes right out from the atlas. So what happens is the vagus nerve controls reproduction, digestion, and immune system. So it's no coincidence that when somebody has a digestion issue, they also have an immune system issue. So for instance, I tell people never to take an antibiotic at all. I mean, right around October and November, going into the wintertime in the Northern Hemisphere, because you will be sick for the entire winter. And what ends up happening is when you take an antibiotic to address an infection, you wipe out the digestive tract flora, and then you suppress the immunity. So you can't affect one without affecting the other. So digestion, reproduction, and immune system. So what happens is when we live in this sympathetic world of this sympathetic dominant stress, because we're always in this fight or flight, so what happens, and you don't have a well aligned atlas because of your poor sleeping position, that interferes with the body's the vagus nerve. So that interferes with the body's ability to improve digestion, to turn on immune system, and to balance the hormones. So due to misalignment, you have parasympathetic nerve suppression, which causes a digestion nerve issue and digestive tract issue. So that's why when I was getting adjusted, it removed that pressure, turned on the parasympathetic nervous system, and then the stomach started to function more efficiently.
That's incredible. Yeah. And that's definitely what I was looking at, was the connection between the vagus nerve and then the gut health. Right. And then also on top of that being that our immune system largely resides in in our gut. Obviously it would make sense that the vagus nerve plays such a large role. That's incredible.
And it just drapes the entire digestive tract there. I mean, it's such a beautiful, illustration of the complexity of the vagus nerve there. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, no wonder they call it the wanderer nerve.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm super. I did not expect to hear more about the vagus nerve. I love that. I was literally just doing some research on it, so that's awesome. Okay, moving into the neck nest then. So the reason you designed that was because essentially we are taking the arch out of our neck, and what you're doing is you're allowing us to, essentially have 8 hours of, our 24-hour day to recorrect that arch kind of in our neck. Is that correct?
Exactly what happens. We're reversing the damaging effect of the modern day lifestyle. So there are 3 laws that are at play. The first law is the righting reflex. And the righting reflex states that your body posture adjusts to head position. So if you have forward head posture, your body is going to respond by twisting the hips. So everybody thinks their hips are out of alignment because there's an issue with core strength, or there's an issue with a core imbalance. Muscles are minions. They're always being told what to do. They're being told by the neurology. You never have typically a muscle imbalance or a muscle issue. You normally have a balance awareness, or what's called a proprioceptive issue. And it's usually in the brain. So the nervous system is controlling the muscle. The muscle is misfiring, not because there's a problem that needs strengthening. It's because there's an issue in the brain. So if we understand that through the righting reflex, then we apply the next 2 laws, Davis's law and Wolff's law. Davis's law, Wolff's law says if you don't use it, you lose it. Davis's law says that the stress tissue will remold based on the stresses that it's put upon. So which means if I take a if I want my arm to bend, I take my arm, I hold it like this, and in a year I will have a bent bone because the tissue will remold around that stress. So by using that as an understanding, you don't want to just support something because you're going to make something weaker. What you want to do is you want to stretch something over a period of time slowly, and you'll be able to remold the tissue. So that's what I take the opportunity at night in the bed to do. People toss and turn all night long because they're in the wrong, not the wrong position, they're in the wrong posture. And they're using these pillows that are just support the head too much, and the support even makes the neck weaker, or they're sleeping in poor positions where they're tucking their chin. So we developed the neck nest to be, you're not going to just get a neck nest right off the bat and say, oh my God, it's the most comfortable pillow in the whole wide world, this is great, because that's not how our body works. We need to first establish the proper posture to set up in the middle of the night, and then the neck nest is designed to be able to help you maintain that posture as long as you can. I tell people to use a neck nest at the beginning 1 to 2 hours a night, and it'll transform their entire night sleep over a period of time.
That's super interesting. So if you're first trying out the neck nest pillow, it's actually not a great idea to go and use it the entire night.
No. So what you can do, if you notice right here, there's like a sleep wedge. I tell people either get a sleep wedge or let me see if I can move this back so you can see here. You can get a sleep wedge, because if you put it flat, sometimes there's a little, your body, your chest opens up a little bit. You're going to have some issues. And actually, the neck nest that I had here in my podcast room, somebody came over and they took because I needed a pillow. So I actually have, I had to go upstairs and get another one. It has my friend's logo on it. They got a whole bunch for their company way back, and that's the only one I had left.
They're too popular.
So what I'll do is I'll show you, when you use a neck nest, you use a neck nest at the beginning. At the beginning, you can use it flat, but when you really use it, the neck nest is designed to be angled and then put under your neck.
Wow.
Let me show you here. So you lie down here, you take a neck nest, take it here, right? And then you angle it. Then you put it right under your neck.
Interesting.
And then what that's doing is that's taking the weight of my head's over the back of the neck nest, and it's like hugging. That's why I call it the nest, nesting right around my neck, and put my neck into a position, and I'm looking up at the ceiling. Oh, what a comfortable position.
Yeah.
Once you get used to it. And then, a lot of people say, well, what about, I can't sleep like that. I'll snore. It's not good to sleep on your back. And then all of these objections immediately come up when we talk about sleeping on your back. And then we have this whole program that you alluded to. It's a sleep university. And we really teach people all how to handle the issues that come up when you're starting to sleep on your back. And like I tell people, 1 to 2 hours a night, you put your neck in 1 to 2 hours of traction a night, and that really good, distracted position, and you will transform any injuries and problems that you have in your own spine.
Wow. Okay. And so to that point, then laying on your back is the proper way to be sleeping at night.
Laying on your back, but making sure that something is under your neck, because you can cause just as much damage if you sleep using a neck nest, let's say, and you just use it like this. See what's happening with my chin?
Right.
It's super important that your angle of your chin is up like that.
Gotcha. Okay.
And not down. So that makes a big difference. So it's not just sleep position that's important. It's the posture that you set yourself up in.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. So essentially the reason this is all happening too, not just for you, because you were saying as a chiropractor, you were bent over very often, but also I'm thinking of people who are, at their home office or whatever it may be, and constantly hunching forward, trying to, look at their computer screen or on their mobile phone. And that is also leading to this, imbalance in our spine. Is that correct?
You're absolutely correct.
Gotcha. And so what should the proper alignment of the spine? I can see obviously the photo back there, but what from, starting from like the atlas, what should the curvature look like?
Yeah, so the curvature here should be what's called a kyphotic curve. So the head would be forward here. So the spine has this S shape. Basically, the spine would look like a spring, where the curves of the spine are the actual shock absorbers. Everybody thinks the discs is a shock absorbers. They're not. The discs help you maintain movement. The curves of the spine should be the shock absorbers. And when the spine breaks down and you start to lose the structure of the curve, you actually lose those curves. They're gone. They actually go the wrong way. And that biomechanically causes so much dysfunction in people's spines and causes so many health-related issues. You can't get healthy if your spine is out of alignment. It's not possible because the nervous system, which is the root controller of the entire thing, is out of alignment.
Would that also be a common cause for sciatica?
Sciatica is that the definition is pain in the sciatic nerve. So my question to that would be, well, what's causing the pressure on the nerve? So the pressure on the nerve could come from a nerve root, which comes out from the spine, could come from a disc herniation, could come from a posterior facet joint hypertrophy or inflammation in the posterior facet, or can come from a muscle in your butt called your psoas. The psoas can be in spasm, and it's the only muscle in the human body that goes directly through a muscle.
Oh, wow.
Sciatic nerve goes through the psoas. So when the psoas is tight, it constricts the sciatic nerve. So depending on, the cause of pressure and the pain in the sciatic nerve have multiple causes, but more often than not, it's reactive to some sort of degenerative condition in the neck that causes the hips to react. And then over a period of time, you wear down the structure of the spine, which eventually will cause pain in the sciatic nerve.
Man.
I know it's just so complicated, like it's, and it's so hard to think. Like I got ADD, so I don't think lineal. I think on like in a broad scale. It's just that's not a simple question.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, as with anything in the body, right, there is almost never really just a super straightforward answer. It is all interconnected. But I just know that there's been a lot of people here recently, I feel, that have been telling me they have sciatic pain. And so just one of the questions I wanted to throw out there. But I think now would be a good time to also move into just the importance of sleep and why, we need proper amounts of it, what it's doing to the people who are not getting proper amounts of it. And also if you have any tips that you would love to share about how to get better sleep, that would be very much appreciated, not only for myself, but also for all of the listeners for sure.
I think one of the biggest things that happen to people that don't, so here's the way that I explain it. Easy. When you have an iPhone and you have a lot of apps going on in the iPhone, the more performance you ask out of that iPhone, the more you wear the battery down. The quicker you wear the battery down, the more you need to plug it in to recharge it. Normally with our phones, we recharge it, we plug in, and we recharge it 100%, and then you have, the dependency of your battery the next day. Well, your body is the same way, but you recharge at night when you sleep. But the problem is picture having an iPhone and just plugging in, unplugging it, plugging it in, unplugging it, plugging it in. It disrupts the charging of the battery. Maybe you're not charged when you wake up at 100%. Maybe you're functioning at 70% power, or maybe you're functioning at 60% power. Now, how do you feel that day versus a day that you're functioning at 100%? You just feel powerful. You feel like you just have more energy. And that's what sleep does. I don't care what disease it is, anything can be helped with sleep, because better sleep, better recharging, better regeneration. And there's not one study or one expert out there that will not tell you that sleep is super important. So now, what are some tips to be able to get a great night's sleep, which is what I've spent, the last geez, now 8 years of my existence, research and diving into. And I'm like the practical sleep guy. There are people that maybe dive into the brain neurology a little bit more than I will, but I will tell you how to get a good night's sleep because I love sleep and I'm a practical sleeper. And I've helped thousands and thousands of people across the globe sleep. And really one of my the number one best tip is consistency. That's why, like I said, right after a time change, everybody gets sick because it throws off their circadian rhythm. And because we're not plugging in at 100%, our body's immune system is already depleted. And then during the wintertime, we just get thrown out of balance and everybody's going to be sick around this time, not because some virus made a comeback. And now the second thing is you cannot think yourself to sleep effectively. So you have to remember yourself to sleep. So what that means is if you're thinking about something that happens, going to happen tomorrow, you're thinking about rationalizing, your blood's in the front part of your brain, and you're never going to be able to fall asleep. But because we're all control freaks, we want to kind of keep things going. Well, it's the same thing in your, so you can focus on either thinking or you can focus on remembering. And your body doesn't care which one, but it wants to focus on something. So if you focus on a good memory in the past, the further back, the better. Let's say it happened a week ago, a year ago, 2 years ago when you were a child, and it's a good memory, and you put yourself asleep on that memory, and you remember yourself to sleep, you'll be able to get to sleep and stay asleep much more effectively.
Wow. That's super interesting. I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Geez. Okay. Yeah, those are definitely some great tips. I know, definitely I do a few practices such as trying to, just as I have a morning ritual, I try to create like an evening ritual as well, something to wind the body down. And so usually that involves some kind of a nighttime tea. I'll usually take a magnesium supplement in the evening as well, try to dim all of the lights.
Right.
If not, even turn them off. Try to also give myself at least an hour before bedtime without any screens. And I do feel that those have helped drastically, but I've never thought about trying to think of another memory, because the nights when I do have a hard time sleeping because you're thinking constantly, yeah, it's because you're like, oh, why can't I just stop thinking? But moving that back to memory, that is really interesting. I'm curious as to why that even does that. But what do you think of those sleep practices as well? Do you agree with all of those? What's your take on kind of like a magnesium supplement as well?
Yeah, no, I like magnesium. We created a supplement called Deep Sleep. It has magnesium in it. Magnesium I like over like a melatonin because magnesium will it will settle the brain down, kind of relax the body. You want to put yourself into a relaxed, calm state. And then you can couple that with remembering. And the reason the science behind remembering and thinking, I kind of, and researching it and coming up with it, when you think, the blood's in the front part of your brain. When you remember, the blood's in the back part of your brain. Your sleep centers are in the back part of your brain. So you need the blood to go from the front part of your brain to the back part of your brain. The most effective way to do that is to remember. So what you're doing is you're basically shutting the blood down from the front part and bringing the blood to the back part of the brain. And when you do that, you're tapping into a space of calmness and anything that you can take supplement wise, that like a GABA or magnesium, and some people use CBD without THC, and you can use all of these things, warm like a warm shower or meditation, or use some aromatherapy, things like that. Anything that kind of calms your system down and allows you to be able to do that is good. Because one of the ways to get into good sleep is your heart rate needs to drop. And if you're stimulated, your heart rate won't be able to drop. So
Yeah, absolutely. So once again, like stimulating that parasympathetic nervous system, right, to help get
exactly.
into that state. Okay. And then you mentioned melatonin, which I'm glad you did, because I know there's a lot of people who are taking melatonin, and I've also had a lot of people tell me that they took melatonin and it was effective at first, but then over time lost its efficacy. Would you mind explaining why you would prefer like a magnesium supplement or something like GABA over the melatonin?
Well, one of the things with sleep is sleep needs to be natural. Sleep needs to, and if you can tie into the circadian rhythm, which means, when the sun goes down and the earth and the sun comes up and the moon comes up at dark and night, our bodies are really cyclical like that. Our body temperature elevates and rises, based on that circadian rhythm, and we get into deep sleep when our body cools. So it's very, very important not to just knock you out, just to get sleep, because that, not all sleep is created equal. So you want to be able to go to sleep on a schedule. And so I like products that are not like hormonal in nature, where you take it and it knocks you out. I like products that especially with my clients, is I'm like, listen, this is the time we need to set up. Let's come up with things and figure out what your problems are first, and get the lights shut off earlier on, use candlelight, decrease blue lights, decrease EMFs in your house. I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do. And when you start to establish healthier patterns versus taking medication to just, drop you into a comatose sleep, you're really setting yourself up to win.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I think, almost in a way, getting back to, a little bit pre all the technology, trying to just get more into the natural rhythms and cycles is huge. And then in terms of the mattress that you're sleeping on, is it better to have a harder or a softer type mattress?
Well, I don't like too hot of a mattress, but as long as you're sleeping on your back, get some sort of pillow, a neck nest underneath your neck with that neck arch back. And at the beginning, there's going to be a little transition time for your spine to get used to it. But you want, a plush mattress that your body can actually fall into a little bit more efficiently. And so the position, first off, that 70% of the population is sleeping in is the wrong position. So before you change your mattress, start to try to sleep differently. And then once your body gets used to that, then you can use pillow toppers and do different things like that.
Okay. So definitely like no side sleeping. What about sleeping on your stomach? Are those all pretty much bad?
Yeah, those are all bad positions.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay. And then I have one last question that I'm really curious to hear about is, what are these sleep summits that you put on?
Yeah, so what we're doing now, right now they're virtual. We're going to be doing our first sleep summit, which is going to be at the end of in the middle of 2023.
Okay.
So what I wanted to do is so we do these things online, which you can you come in, you can go to drsleepright.com. We have now over thousands of people taking our sleep quiz, and then that sleep quiz changes, and based on the top 3 problems of that month, I do a webinar virtually, and it's just been so successful that people have been asking me to do a sleep summit where we bring people, almost like a sleep retreat, where we're going to bring people into this really thought out, conscious environment, and which is centers around helping people improve sleep. So when somebody comes into the sleep environment, it's going to be a low light situation. We're going to teach them the positioning of the bed, how to sleep in, how to use covers. So it's going to be basically like a sleep university. And we're going to have yoga instructors there to teach people how to meditate. We're going to be using specific scents and linking the meditation to the scent. So when they go home, they'll be able to go home with tools to be able to help them to basically learn how to sleep again. So one of my goals is master the art of sleeping. Sleeping is an art. It needs to be learned, and nobody's taught anybody truly how to sleep. So that's what we're going to be the first ones doing.
That's incredible. Yeah, no, I love that. You actually made me think of back when I was in college, I heard that your olfactory nerves and sense is so powerful that if you study with a certain scent on, then you go and take that test, you can actually wear that scent and it'll help to bring back those specific memories, right? And what you were learning. So that association with the scent and sleep, yeah, that's an awesome combination there. Yeah.
Right.
But all right, well, honestly, that is pretty much all of the questions I had for you. I learned a lot on this. I'm going to go back and listen to this for myself, but let's go ahead and let everyone know how they can reach out to you, get in touch with you if they want to take this the sleep quiz, and yeah, just what would be the best ways, and obviously where to find the neck nest.
Yeah, they can. So we have two brands now. We just created a separate brand, which is called Dr. Sleep Right, DrSleeprIght. So that is where the test lies, and you'll be finding out more information about the Sleep Summit and our retreat there. And you can find Dr. Sleep Right on Instagram and Facebook. And then the Neck Nest is more of a product page, right? It gives you more education and how to, there are videos there on how to use a neck nest, what the neck nest is the neck nest right for you? And then also, which will be, and then also Neck Nest can be found on Instagram and Facebook. So you have Dr. Sleep Right and Neck Nest, and those are really, and then just behind the scenes, just get linked into our, our socials and hear more about sleep. And we'll be doing a podcast also called Sleep Tight with Dr. Sleep Right. And we'll be breaking it down. That's why I commend you on doing this, because I know how much dedication and focus and commitment it takes. And to be frank with everybody is I kind of, this was rescheduled for Tuesday. I mean, this was scheduled from Tuesday to today, or it's just a different day. And I was like, it wasn't on my calendar, and I forgot. And then when I saw your text, I'm like, listen, I know the effort you put in to make this happen, and that's why I kind of ran down here and jumped on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Honestly, it's more work than I thought it was going to be. It's a labor of love. I truly enjoy this, but I really do appreciate you making that extra effort, because there's definitely been many guests who it's you get a hold of them and then all of a sudden they're gone, so I really do appreciate it. And also, I'm just happy to have you on the show, because this information that you're providing is incredible, and to be able to just be literally the conduit that shares it, I'm so happy. And if you have any questions with podcasting, you have any issues, like, reach out to me anytime. I'm happy to give any of my failure experience, and definitely reach out, and we'll get in touch on that.
All right, thanks a lot. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sleep Right. I will go ahead and have all of those links posted in the show notes. Everybody go ahead and follow this guy. He has just incredible information, and so blessed and happy to have had you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Everybody, the motto of the show, it's do everything with good intentions and connect to your elements. Peace.